Hello, and welcome to Mass Effect 3. The third game and the final game in the Mass Effect trilogy. So, as usual at the beginning of a game, I like to go through the events that transpired in between the two games of the Mass Effect series. And already you had a bit of a taste of that in the Cerberus Daily News, which has transitioned to Alliance News Network. It is not yet done. It will continue a bit further as we play through the game itself. But there is more to the story than what Cerberus Daily News gives us. For, as you recall, pretty much between every game there has been a novel released. And the novel gives us a bit of background information about what transpired in between the games. And whereas between Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2 there was Mass Effect Ascension, between Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 there is Mass Effect Retribution. And it continues the story also from Mass Effect Ascension. The story goes, and actually pretty much everything that happened in between the two games has to do with Cerberus. The story goes that the top Cerberus operative, Kai Lang, had managed to locate the traitor, Paul Grayson. Paul Grayson was a very important character in Ascension, and of course Cerberus wants him dead. However, upon hearing that, the elusive man did not decide to just outright kill him, but rather to make use of him for his own gain. And that is to say, he was experimenting with some Reaper technology that he managed to secure from the base of the collectors that we destroyed mostly at the end of Mass Effect 2, but some things still remained. And he needed some people to test the Reaper technology on, and what better subjects than some of the traitors that defected from Cerberus some time ago that he wants to settle the score with anyway. So, he asked Kai Lang to bring Paul Grayson to one of the Cerberus facilities. And Kai Lang, being the top operative, of course, did that with no big difficulty. He kidnapped Paul Grayson, also caused a bit of a commotion, killed a few people, not a big deal. And indeed, Elusive Man personally showed Paul Grayson how things go in Cerberus, and implanted a whole bunch of cybernetics into him, turning him effectively into a husk, at the beginning at least. But since that was a direct conduit between the humans and the Reapers kind of made him have assumed control over, and he became the locutus of the Reapers for some time. Not too long. Because, in the meanwhile, actually, Paul Grayson managed to get a message out that he was about to be kidnapped by Cerberus, and the message was sent successfully to Kali Sanders, the heroine of all three books, effectively. Kali Sanders then had nobody else but Admiral Anderson to turn to. And Anderson thought of whom to contact. Alliance was not a very good option because obviously Cerberus would have a lot of agents there. He contacted the Turians, and the Turians did agree to help with attacking some of the Cerberus research facilities that Paul Grayson had given some ideas as to where they are. Because obviously it was not clear which facility he would be brought to. And in the meanwhile, also Arya from Omega found out that one of the people that Kai Lang killed while kidnapping Paul Grayson was her daughter. Well, so she also helped with the assault on the base. And that caused the Elusive Man to be overwhelmed. He couldn't terminate Paul Grayson and had to withdraw. Whereas Paul Grayson managed to convince the Turians that he needs some help. And the Turians brought him to a shuttle and got him back towards Omega. But he overpowered all the Turians and took the shuttle for himself. He changed the course and he arrived to Omega in order to commandeer a better ship. In the meanwhile, Kali Sanders figured that out, and also figured out that the place that the husk of Paul Grayson would go to, since the Reapers probably would be interested in the technology, is the Ascension Project, the John Grissom Academy that Kali Sanders was now in charge of. And both Kali Sanders and Admiral Anderson managed to get to Grissom Academy, but still a bit too late. They also had to wrestle with Kai Lang on the way, and actually managed to overpower him somehow. That's quite impressive. And then there was a final showdown on the Grissom Academy, where everyone was fighting everyone else, and finally the husk of Paul Grayson was subdued by both Admiral Anderson and Kai Lang, and he was killed in action. And then also Admiral Anderson continued to fight with Kai Lang, and also somehow managed to overpower him in the end and injure him, but he nevertheless managed to escape. And Anderson kept the corpse of the husk for further analysis and turned it into the Alliance. And then he tried to convince the Council that it was, in fact, something that the Reapers managed to create, but the Council dismissed those claims because clearly this was just the plot of Cerberus, and they invented those cybernetic implants to begin with. And that was the content of Mass Effect Retribution. For more details, please read the novel itself. As always, it is a very good read. Now, that did not end Cerberus's attempts at studying the Reapers. In the end, Arya did secure a lot of research that was on the base that Cerberus had to abandon. The Elusive Man contacted Arya and bought some of that research back, and kept the rest of the research, well, or the copies of the research also, in Arya's hands, because the more people looking into research on Reapers and understanding them, the better it is. The more chances we have if they start to attack us. But that was not the last time that Arya and the Elusive Man had contact. For from the Omega-4 relay, a Cerberus ship appeared and docked with Omega. It seemed like any other ship, but out of the ship came out very strange creatures, horrifying monsters that could convert the dying into more of their own kind. Those monsters were termed adjutants. There was a fight on Omega trying to fight them off, and somewhat it was successful, but not completely, for more ships appeared with more adjutants, and the station was overwhelmed. However, even more ships appeared, and while it seemed that it was the end for Omega, it turned out that those ships were not manned by adjutants, but rather they were actual Cerberus. The General, Oleg Petrovsky, joined Arya on the station and explained that Cerberus, while trying to experiment on Reaper technology, ran into some problems, and adjutants came loose. And of course, Cerberus was very interested in getting that under control, for their facilities were also being overrun. And so Arya's fight was also Cerberus' fight. Thus, Arya and Oleg joined forces in fighting the adjutants. The Cerberus fleet was somewhat effective, however, more and more adjutants came from the Omega-4 relay. Arya suggested disabling the Omega-4 relay, but how do you disable a relay? That has never been done before. The only known case where that was somewhat effective was Shepard's attempt at stopping the Reaper invasion. And then Oleg Petrovsky suggested to Arya that perhaps the only way to stop it permanently is to attack the core of the problem, the origin of the adjutants, which is within the enclosed space beyond the Omega-4 relay, the research station that Cerberus had built there. Arya agreed, and they went in their flagship inside the Omega-4 relay to find that the research station was mostly overrun by the adjutants, but not all of it. They docked with the one wing that was not overrun by them and managed to fight their way through the station and eventually gained the upper hand. However, that was very taxing, and Arya used all of her biotic abilities to survive and to fend off the adjutants, and passed out from too much strain. After the station was cleared out, she found herself in Oleg's ship, but bound and her biotics subdued. It turns out that it was all a ruse, and the elusive man wanted to capture Arya. Turns out that Cerberus was taking over the station of Omega. They boarded Omega. However, Arya, being Arya, managed to somehow wiggle out of the situation, and as the ship returned to Omega, she went loose on the station. Guerrilla warfare ensued, and Arya was gaining the upper hand, but then there was some back and forth. In the end, she would have taken the upper hand, but Oleg Petrovsky decided that the best thing to do is to withdraw for the time being. He ordered all the Cerberus personnel to evacuate the station, and then told Arya that they're evacuating because there's a bigger fleet of Cerberus ships, who were told that if Cerberus cannot have the station, with Arya and the inhabitants of the station in there, they will simply purge the station with all of its inhabitants, and then take it over afterwards. For the station of Omega is absolutely critical to Cerberus' plans, for it is the first thing on the other side of the Omega-4 relay, and thus is absolutely instrumental. Arya believed that and gave up, and she took a shuttle of the station, and that was the last time that anyone had any news from the station of Omega. And now we turn our attention to the fate of Commander Shepard. Commander Shepard, after finishing the destruction of the relay that would have led to the invasion of the Reapers, was reprimanded by the Alliance, and obviously the Batarians were not very happy with what happened. They demanded that justice be brought upon Shepard, and Shepard was put into the brig, awaiting court-martial. That was something that lasted for about 6 months. And at that point, things had become more and more gloomy. You can see what was happening at the time if you follow the Alliance news network that I have posted before. And now it is time for us to go and start Mass Effect 3. As before, I will play this game with mods. Lots of mods. There are mods being made every day somehow. And we might even start playing more mods as time goes. But for now, we will start with a set of around 10 mods, and I will try to go through them one by one to not overwhelm things. The first mod, and the biggest one, as you can imagine, is a lot. Just like in Mass Effect 2, we have a texture extension mod, which is really nice, and obviously I recommend everyone to use it because it makes the experience much better. Alright, so let's see what we can do as we resume the game. Import Mass Effect 2 character. We have John Shepard. Created on 2016, 11/19. That's been a while. Alright, let's do this. Interesting, we can choose which save to use. 74 hours, 58 minutes played. Last played in 2018. Yes, so it took us 2 years to finish the game. And 2 years later, we are playing the next game. And what happened? Well, we saved the Arachni Queen. We rescued Kaiden Alenko and Vermeer. We chose to save the Council in the battle for the Citadel. We saved Malan's data on the Genophage. We kept Rex alive on Vermeer. We chose to destroy the Geth heretics. In the end, we destroyed the Collector base. We survived the suicide mission with 12 squad mates. We tried to romance someone before Mass Effect 2, but our love interest kind of died on Vermeer. And we romanced Miranda in Mass Effect 2. So let's see where things bring us this time around. This is not a good, important face. That's odd. That is very odd, so I guess I will need to reconstruct things again with the code. Well, let me handle that in a bit. And we shall start the game next time after this interruption. So, see you then. Later.